Hey guys, welcome into the Bear With Us podcast. I'm Jack. He's Frank. Frankie, we got a we got a new background, and I see that a rowing machine is popping into this new virtual background. Fuck this thing, God. We had some Skype issues. I was gonna say this causing the delay, but the podcast isn't live, so nobody would have known if I hadn't said anything. But I mean, this thing is just distracting. You can see it right here. It's fine. What if I'll sit like this the entire time? This doesn't look uncomfortable at all. I've officially moved from Hallis Hall, Frank. I'm now in what's this thing called? Discord City, Cyber City.
Who the hell knows what it's called? Listen, Jackie, if the people knew what we had to do just to start recording this episode, we would gain like 500 subscribers.
They would appreciate the effort, the amount of effort that we put into this podcast on a daily basis. And now this is just how I'm going to be sitting for the rest of my life when we do these podcasts.
As you should.
I'm just going to have arms crossed.
You'll have some time to play with Discord and see if there's maybe a better background for the next go around. But this was a very stitched together situation.
I kind of like it. I kind of look like I'm on top of I'm bigger than an entire city, which is how my ego feels most of the time.
Listen, this is fitting. This is very fitting.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think I'm going to keep it. You guys let us know what you think of my background. I'm curious. But I mean, if you saw the rowing machine back here, now you guys will understand why I have a background.
That's a nice rowing machine.
Thank you. And I tried going both headphones, right, but I mean, it's still, you're still going to see through that. So I'm not quite sure what that one guy was beefing about. And listen, if you guys are wondering, man, they're spending a lot of time talking about settings and backgrounds and rowing machines. Here's the thing, Frank, we didn't have a topic for today. Frank he texted me today and he said, I got some things we can do. It's going to be a little bit more random of an episode. And I was sitting here thinking and looking at all the smoke from the Canadian wildfires, and I was thinking, you know what? Who knows what tomorrow will bring? I think we can just hang out this episode of the Bear With Us podcast with Jack and Frank. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to hang out. Frank, tell us what we're talking about today, because I have no idea.
Jackie, I really liked the way we started last episode, just talking about, or did we end it with just like random bears?
I think it was like in the middle.
And yeah, it was somewhere. It was somewhere in there. And I was like, man, like that's such a fun discussion that I've had with friends over the years. We just randomly start bringing up bears. So I have a couple of prompt questions.
Okay, here we go.
And really sort of wherever we go. You know, this is probably going to be a short episode. But Jackie, when I say like name the most random bear that you can think of, what is like the first thing that comes to mind for you? What's the first name?
The most random bear I could think of?
Yeah, if someone asks you who is the most random Chicago bear that you can think of.
I kind of want to say like Jeremy Langford. Like right off the top of my head.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, do you remember? Now, do you remember the expectations that were set upon Jeremy Langford after Matt Forte got shipped away?
What was it? It was like that Thanksgiving game against the Packers.
Yes.
And they I don't even remember. Did they end up winning that game? It was some crazy game.
They did. It was like 17-14, an ugly. I just remember like Aaron Rodgers. It was an incomplete pass that may have been a pass interference that they didn't call on Peanut, or was it Peanut? It was someone in the Bears secondary, and they won. It was a 4th down. I remember that. Yes, and I think Langford. I think that was the same game where Langford had a very good game.
Well, there was I'm looking at his career stats. He only played 3 NFL seasons.
Yeah.
He played 2015, 2016, missed all of 2017. I don't know if that usually when it's injury it'll say, but he only appeared in 1 game in 2018. So he had those 2 seasons in Chicago, and I remember everybody was like, "Oh, the Bears will be fine at running back. They don't need Matt Forte. They got Jeremy Langford." And Jeremy Langford came out the next season and was completely unproductive in just a hilarious capacity. And I think that was when, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that when, oh my God, I can't, Jordan Howard, isn't that when Jordan Howard kind of took over, or is that the next year?
It wasn't that. I don't know what
year.
year
Yeah, it was Jordan Howard. That was
no,
Jordan
it was
Howard's
Jordan
rookie
Howard, but it was like it was Langford's second year.
second year.
Second year. Yep. And I distinctly remember, Jack, beat reporters, as soon as the Bears drafted Jordan Howard, that was a fifth rounder, right? Fourth or fifth?
Fifth rounder.
As soon as they drafted him, they were like, he's beating out Jeremy Langford. And I remember thinking, like, damn, like, I know at that point running backs were already starting to be drafted later and later, and they were being productive. But I was like, because Langford was like a second or a third, was he not?
He was drafted. It doesn't say. Okay.
I want to say he was a third.
Well, I'm gonna look it up, but I was just looking at his game log, where in 2015, because that was that was the year we're talking about, the one where, because he had that one, it was the game against the Rams. He had 20 on 20 carries, he had 73 yards and a touchdown, and then he had 7 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown as well.
That was, do you remember, Jack, the rhetoric when Forte left was that, he's a better, like, he may not be as good of a runner right now, but he's a better receiver. And like Forte at that point was an amazing receiver. He led the Bears in receiving a couple of years. And so I was like, okay.
And it wasn't Christmas. It was not Christmas. I apologize. It was Thanksgiving. It was the Thanksgiving game.
Yep.
That's what it was. It was not Christmas. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, no, that was a good name though. But then I remember a beat reporter saying like Jordan Howard, he's going to take the job. And I just remember thinking like, damn, like after all we've heard about Langford, and now that I'm thinking about it, it was more fan than coach. I don't know if the coaches were ever in love with them, but like the fans were going crazy on forums and shit and on Twitter.
He was a 4th round pick, by the way.
Fourth. I don't know why I thought he was a second or a third. Well, then that makes more sense thinking that Howard was going to come in. But I just remember thinking like, man, if Howard gets there and there beats him, he's got to be really good. And he wound up being a pretty good running back. The name that I thought of when I asked the question, Jack, was Brandon Lloyd.
Oh my God, Brandon Lloyd was a Bear. I completely forgot about that.
He had a nice little, I don't remember who was it against the Niners. He had a pretty crazy one of those, circus catches that he would pull off. That he wound up pulling off with other teams way more than with the Bears. But he was one of those guys that I remember thinking, I didn't know much about him before we got to Chicago, and he had a couple 1,000-yard seasons after he left. But I just remember seeing him on the field, and everyone from Chicago, especially big Bears fans, know how offensively deprived that we've been. I just remember thinking like, this guy looks different than our other receivers. Like, why isn't he? He was one of the ones that like. It wasn't just like one flash, one game. It was like just the way he moved felt different. Like, and I was just like, I always wondered, because he went on to like almost get on the Madden cover. And I remember there was do you remember, Jack, some years, he had to have been a Niner, I think. And they were doing like someone's going to get 100 in every category. And like they let the fans vote, and like Hester got 100 speed. Right. And I think he got the 100 hands. And I remember he was in a bunch of interviews, and I wonder if his Bears tenure ever really popped up, because I don't have the roster in front of me, but there's no shot in hell that there was a better receiver on the team than him.
Let's see. That would be 2008. He started 5 games. He caught 20 catches. He had 20 catches for 364 yards.
And who else was on that roster? 08?
Let's see. 2008. It would have been, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of random Bears on this one. Kyle Orton was your starter. He started 15 games. Threw for under 3,000 yards in 15 games. Jesus Christ.
That was a Bears thing, because he went to Denver. Didn't he throw for 4,000 his first year in Denver?
Yeah, something crazy like that. Well, that was the whole thing about when they brought Jay Cutler here, right? Because they were like, oh my God, the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. And I think Jay had done it twice, right? When he did it once for sure. It was like 4,200, I think. Yeah. Yeah, and everybody was like, all right, we're finally going to get, there you go, Adrian Peterson was on that team.
Adrian Peterson, the fucking preseason GOAT, baby.
You remember Garrett Wolf?
I do.
Of course you do.
I do. I remember I had a bunch of friends who wound up going to NIU and loved him.
Yeah. He was not very good, but
he was fucking amazing on Madden. Did you ever use him on Madden?
Oh, yeah. Because again, like you said last week, it was all about speed.
Yep.
Rasheed Davis was one of the wide receivers on that team. I think. Yeah. Okay. So here are your lead wide receivers ahead of Brandon Lloyd that season. Devin Hester was your wide receiver 1. Rashid Davis, who both of them, by the way, combined for 5 passing touchdowns, or 5 receiving touchdowns, I should say. Marty Booker, 32-year-old Marty Booker. Yeah, 32-year-old.
Kicking, huh?
Yep. Greg Olson actually had a pretty solid season for a tight end.
Greg was
54 catches, 574 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Didn't he, the year before he left, did he not have like an 800-yard year that year? He had a really big year. Then Mike Martz decided he didn't fit his system.
No, he never caught 800. He caught the year before they traded in 2010. He only had 404 yards for 5 touchdowns.
Why did I think? I guess I just misremembered it. I mean, or what was his year in Carolina? Maybe I'm thinking of the year he went like nuts in Carolina. Maybe
his next year was a little bit better, 540. They didn't really use him, but then so previous 2 seasons combined, right? He had 86 catches in his last year in Chicago, and then his first year in Carolina. The following year after that, he had 69 catches. So almost like in one season, basically did the same amount of work. I mean, he just caught touchdowns though. That was all he did. It was really his career high was 8 when he was in 2009 with the Bears.
Nice. That was with Jay, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would have been
was that
Cutler.
The year? Was that the when we beat the Seahawks in the playoffs, and Jay smoked them?
No, because they finished 7-9 that specific season.
Oh, that's
so maybe that
right.
wasn't Cutler. Yeah, no, it was Cutler. It was
when they beat the
3,600 yards.
But didn't Rex smoke them in the? Oh no, that was a Robbie Gould field goal that beat the Seahawks that year.
Yeah, that was to get to the Super Bowl.
Yep,
yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck, and then they beat the brakes off of the Saints. All right, Jackie, another question for you, bub. Who was a Bear? As random as it can get, but it could be someone that regardless, that you were sure, whether it was a free agent acquisition, whether it was a draft pick, that you were just sure they were the real deal, and they just wound up being bad.
Oh man, come give us yours, because I need to look through one thing real quick, because the name is on the tip of my tongue. But go through yours and I'll come back to mine.
Listen, Jackie, I was a kid when I had this, when I thought this, but I swear to God, I couldn't be any more sure about it. I don't remember what exactly happened. I think Jim Miller or Chris Chandler had gotten hurt, whoever was the quarterback then, and fucking young, spry, big-armed Henry Burris comes into the game. He plays like the whole second half. Tosses like a 60-yard touchdown or something. I may be making some of this up. This is the way my brain remembered it, though. And I remember the next game, the starter, again, it was either Jim Miller or Chris Chandler. They were healthy again, and I was like, no, dude, like we have to play this guy. And he did wind up playing another game or two, and Henry Burris was really bad. But in that moment, that second half of the game that he played, and he may not even have played a good second half. I think he just had a really good throw. He had one really good throw. You couldn't tell me shit. There for like 2 years, I kept bringing up, like, I wonder if we're going to bring Burris back. But I was like 12. But you just could not convince 12-year-old Frank that Henry Burris was a bad quarterback. That was my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of like a guy that I was just like head over heels for, because I just never believed that the Bears were ever going to be good again.
Not even like defensively? There wasn't someone on defense that?
Well, I mean, as I talked a little bit about last week, I was a big Tim Jennings guy. I thought Tim Jennings was like going to end up being one of the Bears' best players of all time. But that was just because I just love Tim Jennings. Like, it's a good cornerback name. But no, I mean, if you want to go like recent, like as much as I hate to admit it, I thought Kevin White was going to be. And I know like he's not really a random guy right now, right this second. But give it a few years, and he will be. No, man. I guess if I know I talked about him last week too, but Anthony Thomas. I mean, I thought Anthony Thomas was going to be like one of the best running backs of all time.
He was good.
Really did. He was solid when he was playing, but
I was just gonna say we were so young. How did his story end? Was it injuries for the A Train?
Well, let's see. So his last season with the Bears was 2004.
Yep.
He only started 2 games, but he played in 12. So he was a backup. I think it was because 2004 was when they drafted Sed Benson, right?
No. Thomas Jones was here before Sed Benson. Was that Thomas Jones that took his reps?
I think that they draft. Let me take a look.
No, Thomas Jones was with the Bears for like 2 years, I think, before they drafted Sed Benson.
Thomas Jones, correct. So Thomas Jones was the pick. He was their first overall, or he was their pick. He was their starting running back in 2004.
And he was on the same roster as the A Train?
Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
I don't remember. My brain separated them very far apart. I thought they were like 2 or 3 seasons apart.
The middle 2000s, like 2003, like before the Super Bowl run, I don't remember anything.
I remember
everything feels very like
it's convoluted, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they drafted Cedric Benson when they already had Thomas Jones. Like that was what draft was that 2005?
Yes, I think it was 2005.
Because now I'm going to pull up to the 2005 draft, and I'm going to take a look and see. Oh well, the Bears could have had Aaron Rodgers at number 4 overall.
Yep.
Yeah. So they drafted. God. Well, Frank, you wanna hear? You think of all the issues that running backs are having today, right? With Dalvin Cook still being a free agent, Josh Jacobs now is threatening to sit out for up to the first week. Like running backs aren't getting paid. You had Ronnie Brown drafted 2nd overall. You had Cedric Benson drafted 4th overall.
Yep.
And then you had Cadillac Williams drafted number 5.
The Bucs, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
There was let's see. So here's who was drafted after Sed Benson at number 4. Pro Bowler wise, you had Adam Jones. Remember Pac-Man?
Yes,
I don't know if you necessarily want him on your team though. Antrell Roll, Carlos Rogers, DeMarcus Ware.
The Giants receiver?
He was the safety for the
safety.
Cardinals, and then went to the Giants. Yeah, DeMarcus Ware obviously would have loved to have had him.
Yep.
Sean Merriman, Jamal Brown, offensive tackle for the Saints. Thomas Davis, who we know had a very, very productive career. Derek Johnson, and then of course Aaron Rodgers, Roddy White, Heath Miller, and Logan Mankins.
White. I feel like he was one that didn't live up, right? I don't think he was.
Roddy White was a very good player. I mean, he would have been the Bears' number 1 wide receiver at that time. A lot of
people would have been the Bears' number 1.
Seems to be a common theme, doesn't it?
Yes.
And then in the Bears' second round pick, Mark Bradley from Oklahoma.
I don't remember. I have no memories.
Vincent Jackson went at pick 61 overall. And then Frank Gore went to the Chargers. And then Frank Gore was the first pick in the 3rd round, which is crazy if you think about that.
And that's the Sed Benson draft?
That's the Sed Benson draft.
He should have been the first back off the board.
Nah, man, Ronnie Brown. He was the thing out of Auburn. He was the next guy.
Man, that dynamic shift was so like sudden. I mean, because like it didn't just go from like running backs are a dime a dozen. It went from like they're all pretty good, so we need like 2 or 3 of them in our backfield to rotate them, to now it's just like we'll just get those 2 or 3 from in the 5th round and be okay with it. Like it's just it's such a weird like. I mean, because we talked about this before. Like, think about when if we sat down and you like named every team and you told me like name the running back from my childhood, I could probably name every single team's running back back then. Like everyone had one, at least at some point for at least a couple of years.
Like a starter, like Joseph Adai, and
that's what I'm saying.
Edgerrin James, and like there was one guy who you just knew,
that's
right?
What I mean.
But like if I were to ask you right now, Frank, like who's the backup to? I mean, you probably know some of these because of obvious
because of Dynasty, right?
Dynasty. But like, no shot I would have any idea who most.
No, I know.
Like,
but I think back like you brought up Edgerrin James, like fucking Sean Alexander, Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson. Like these dudes were
featured backs.
LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson when he got drafted in the league, who is being underrated in all-time talks, by the way. I like, did people not really, are people so young that they didn't watch this dude play and fucking run for 297 yards? He ran for like 200 yards 4 times in a season.
Do you think that a running back will ever win MVP again?
Listen, Jackie, not only is the answer no to that, I don't think a non-quarterback will ever win again. To a point where I think they have to just like say like who was the best quarterback this year and who was and that could be like the MVP trophy and who was like the best non-quarterback.
Do it like baseball. Like, you know, you have like the gold gloves and the silver slugger awards and things like that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, right? Like best defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Okay. This was the last thing that I wanted to do. I know we didn't want this episode to be too long, especially with the technical difficulties that we wanted. I'm going to name you, I'm just going to name position groups. And you think of the most random bear from our lifetime in that position group. We're going to start with the layup to get the brain going. Quarterback.
Jason Campbell.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
You know, it's funny. I wanted Jason Campbell. Like, I thought when they signed him, I was like, okay, all right, that's not a bad backup thing. Because I mean, he'd had some success.
He did. He was a solid backup. But when it was his time to shine, was that when Jay Cutler got hurt? That was one of the.
I mean, I could name a million of them. Right? You got Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, Jimmy Pickles.
Caleb Haney.
My go-to was always Craig Krenzel or Cordell Stewart.
Everybody loved Caleb Haney for no reason.
Because they disliked Jay.
Reason. I know.
And then he comes in and he stinks up the joint. Like the one of the years was like we started, wasn't it 7-2 or something? 7-1.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Butler breaks his thumb. Here comes Caleb Haney, and there was this small demographic like, no, it's okay. We're still gonna keep it. Fucking, he's better anyway. And I was like, all right, we'll see. It makes me listen. I don't like that I'm this way. But in those situations, not only did I not think Caleb Haney was good, I actively rooted against him because I was like, does it take all of this for you to show that, like him or hate him, like Jay was the best option that we had? Like, what do we do? Why are we being meatballs about this? Sorry, Caleb.
Because we don't know anything about anything.
That's true.
You're stupid.
Yeah, that is true.
Come on.
You gave me a running back already in Jeremy Langford.
Yeah.
My random running back is always, what was his name? Brock Forsey. Do you remember Brock Forsey from fucking Boise State, baby? He came in and played. He had a 100-yard game in his first game and fucking like never touched the field again. That was my dog.
It's interesting because in our lifetime, I mean, the Bears, like position wise, running back has always been a pretty easy one. Like they've never really worried about that, right? Like,
yep.
Anthony Thomas Jones, Ced Benson. Then you go to Matt Forte, who was here forever. Yep. And then you move right into,
Jordan Howard had a couple good years.
Jeremy Langford years, everybody thought, but then Jordan Howard comes out of nowhere. But he was also really slow. And then they throw in Tariq Cohen.
Phenomenal couple years, yep.
Right. And then you get David Montgomery, who you and I both were very excited that they drafted. I'll never forget. We were a little bit.
We were.
I know they traded up, but ultimately we were like, that's a good player worth trading up for. Because if you remember, like David Montgomery, do you remember those comps that were coming out for? You just shared it in our Dynasty group.
Yep.
The other day. It was like the
what do they call it? The running back Frankenstein.
Yeah, running back for. I'm gonna look it up because it was too good. It was too good. But then now it's Khalil Herbert and Donta Foreman, and they're gonna do like a running back by committee type thing. So running back is I would say that's probably the least random. Unless of course you think of guys like wasn't it like Chester Taylor? Was Chester Taylor
was one? Michael Bush.
And then of course your guy Marion Barber.
Oh yeah, Marion Barber. We were always looking for like that. The one thing they couldn't nail was like that second short yardage banger type of running back. That was the one they always failed at getting.
Okay, so it was the feet of Saquon Barkley, the vision of Lev Bell, the strength of Zeke, and the athleticism of Sony Michel. Now that last one, I think
they got that one
pretty accurate. Yeah,
they didn't get any of the other ones. I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for David because he seems like a really good guy. He just was never able to like
put it all together.
And it was like he just didn't have that like next level. He never like the one thing from one year to the other, he did improve his speed. Like he got a little bit faster as he worked on it. But I think there's only, it's only so much you can do with it. You're sort of just born with speed. But it was just like, I needed him to just hit holes sometimes. Like he had a little bit too much Lev Bell in him. You know what I mean? Where it was too much dancing instead of just taking the 4 yards.
He to me was like a light Matt Forte. Like he was just a downgrade from Matt Forte.
I also don't think he caught the ball nearly as well as Forte did.
No, not even close.
Forte, I mean, if we're being honest,
1,000-yard receptions.
That's what I was just gonna say, Jack. Who off the top of your head in our lifetime can you say was a better receiving back? Not like Darren Sproles, who that's what he did. I mean, like a lead back who received the ball. The only two that come to mind for me are Christian McCaffrey and LaDainian Tomlinson. That's it. The buck stops there for me.
Yeah, I mean, he had 130 targets.
Crazy.
To go with 266 rushing attempts.
Jack, but he was like he was running fucking routes though. Those weren't like he was like in the slot. Do you remember the Chiefs game when Cutler almost fumbled on the 2-point conversion? He picks it up, slings it. That was a fucking wheel route that he ran. That wasn't like a little what do they call those little safety routes for a running back? Like you're sort of the last one to branch out.
Yeah,
like he was running routes out there, dude.
Yeah. No, he was not. Oh man, him in an off. Like if you think of like him in the Chiefs offense today, or like no, I take that back. Put him with Kyle Shanahan, and he's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I don't think he has like the straight line speed.
Right, a little bit, definitely a little bit slower.
I mean,
but he was as good of a catcher as anyone.
I agree. His vision was elite. Just like that top end speed is probably what held him back from being like the best in the league on any given year.
Well, because you look at it right here. He had 1,000 rushing yards, 800 receiving yards, but he only had 10 touchdowns. Like that was always the thing that kind of held him back from being an elite.
Did we have
an elite player?
Did we have a touchdown vulture with him? Were those some?
So let's see. That would have been the 2014 Bears. Let's see who kind of took some of these away from him. Because I think. Can I take back Jeremy Langford? Because I have a much more random Bear.
I'm ready for it.
Kadeem Carey.
Holy shit! I forgot about Kadeem Carey. That's a good one.
He had 0 touchdowns.
Were we just
he had 0 touchdowns?
That's weird. I mean, how many throwing touchdowns did Jay have that year?
He had 28.
Okay.
28. So let's see. God, 28 is not a lot either.
No, it isn't.
Alshon caught 10 of them. Martellus had 6. Brandon Marshall had 8.
This was that year. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh,
there was a lot of throwing inside the 10.
I gotta. All right, let's get to wide receiver because I have a few
I sort of gave mine in Brandon Lloyd. Who was yours?
Well, he'll just be an all-timer, but I'm gonna give you 2.
Okay.
Because one I feel like is not going to be as random. I feel like people will remember him, so I'm going to give you one after that. So never forget Josh Bellamy was Chicago.
Rest in peace to Josh.
Marquise Wilson. Do you remember how excited people were about my guy?
He was like a 6th round pick, wasn't he?
7th round pick.
I remember him. There was another one too that was in that same boat a few years ago, and that's why I learned to not Iglesias. What the fuck was his name? Do you remember who I'm talking about? Joaquin Iglesias, wasn't that his name? Do you remember him?
That sounds right.
Hold on, let me.
Who's Josh Morgan? He was a Bear? Yeah, he was.
Joaquin Iglesias was. Oh no.
Josh Morgan. I don't remember Josh Morgan. Anyways, Marquise Wilson. So Marquise Wilson was the prime example, Frank, of like.
This was another one. Yep.
He was like, because this was right when mock drafts really. Yes. Yeah, that's him. You're right. But this is Marquise Wilson came into the draft right when mock drafts were like becoming like huge.
Yes.
And throughout the college season, he was like always projected as like a first round pick with Washington State. And he just kept falling and falling. No one really knew why. I still don't know if we ever really knew why. Obviously, he wasn't that good of a player.
Wasn't it weed?
Like,
didn't it come out as it being weed?
It probably. But he was one of those guys who you're like, you just got a first round talent in the 7th round.
Yep.
And I think so now people, we obviously know a little bit more now. A little bit better than that. But yeah, Marquise Wilson, I like it.
Holy shit, yeah.
Because people will remember Josh Bellamy,
Yeah, 100%.
Because he was the number 1 wide receiver.
I mean, he had a solid year. It's just that, he wasn't a 1 or probably not even a 2, if we're being honest. Like, he had a good year and he was getting a ton of targets, and that's fine. But Bears fans overrate everybody. The other one that comes to mind at receiver is Dane Sanzenbacher.
Oh,
John Gruden's man crush.
One of the Gruden grinders.
Yep, one of the Gruden grinders, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we have to go, let's give one defensive player. We're gonna have to keep going, and then I have one question that I want to end the episode with. Who was a random defensive player in your brain for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I want to stick with my pick from last week. I think Henry Melton.
Henry Melton is a really good one.
He's just a guy that people are definitely not going to remember.
Yeah.
You know what? Nick Roach. Give me Nick Roach.
Oh, hey, but listen, don't fucking disrespect Nick Roach now.
I'm not disrespecting him, but I just can promise you that he gets lost when, you think of Bears linebackers. Yeah. Nick Roach is definitely the odd man out because he's next to 2 Hall of Famers, in my opinion.
No, you're right. The, fuck, man. The one last week, Christian Jones, that when we were talking, that was a fucking great
Christian
one.
Jones,
because he was a solid, like, that was a thing. Like, he wasn't a slouch. Like, he was good.
We were literally waiting for him to leave the Bears when we were looking last week, and we're like, when the fuck did this guy leave?
He was there for like 10 years.
He's like 100 tackles for like 3 straight seasons. Like, what the fuck? How did we forget that?
He has more total tackles than fucking Sean Taylor. I don't know what the hell. Yeah, he might. It's absurd. No, but Roquan had a year with like 150 or something.
Ego
stupid.
Ferguson.
Ego Ferguson is another one. The one that I thought of was Aaron Lynch. It was the first name that came into my head.
God, he was the definition of like a just pure pass rusher. Like, you just put him in there strictly for that, and he kind of did things sometimes, but most of the time he didn't. Yeah, I thought that was going to be a really good pickup too.
Yeah, my memory of him was he was solid at. He had really long arms. He'd knock some balls down at the line of scrimmage.
He was huge. Yeah.
And the one that also just popped on mind as I was saying that, remember the whole Ray McDonald situation?
Yeah.
Was that Phil Emery?
Yes. Yep, and that was Trustman.
I mean, Phil, listen, you say what you will about Ryan Pace, if anyone has formed an opinion yet about Ryan Poles. And who was the one prior to Emery?
Jerry Angelo.
Say what you want about any of those 3 gentlemen. They will never, ever, ever have the title of worst GM of our lifetime. Because Phil Emery I don't think he did one thing right. I don't think that's an exaggeration. His drafts were so fucking bad. Him and the coaching staff, they failed, like, going into that second year with Trestman. They just kept the coordinators the same, even though fucking Mel Tucker led the historically worst defense in Bears history 2 years in a row.
Let me.
God, man.
Let me. Oh man, it's not. Okay. All right, here we go. It's working. Because if you recall, Phil Emery was with Lovey in 2012. They did not change they changed the GM. They did not change the head coach, which became kind of a consistent theme across the Bears organization
he got
for
3 total
time.
years. Trestman got 2, right?
Correct. So the 2012 draft from your boy Phil, Shea McClellan was his first overall pick. I mean, just an absolute bust.
And it was Ferguson and Sutton, right? Oh no, that's a different draft.
Different draft. Alshon.
Good pick.
Pretty good pick.
Yep.
Brandon Harden.
He was. Oh my God, how was he not my random? I loved him coming out of college. I thought he was the next Mike Brown.
I think Phil Emery did too.
Yeah. Well, he got hit with a bad neck injury in like the second preseason. He didn't play after that.
Evan Rodriguez, the tight end from Temple, who I believe murdered someone. No, he got arrested. I don't know if he murdered somebody. I shouldn't have said that.
We also drafted him as a fullback at the podium. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Man.
Wait, is he currently playing? No.
I was gonna say there's no way.
He last played for the Seattle Dragons in 2020.
Okay. What is that, Canadian? No, that's Canadian. That's Seattle. What is that? The AFL?
I think that's the XFL. Yeah, XFL.
XFL. Okay.
XFL. So on March 21st, 2013, Rodriguez was arrested in Florida for disorderly intoxication and resisting a police officer without violence. He had been down there to train for a team, and then he was arrested again for driving under the influence. So he got arrested in March 21st for being a bum. And then on May 31st, he got arrested again. And the Bears were like, all right, I think we're done here, Evan. Best of luck to you.
Unfortunate.
So good character scouting by your boy Phil. Isaiah Fry was a 6th round pick.
Never heard that name in my life.
Isaiah Fry was a solid role player. I think he was a corner. Greg McCoy. Then you move up, 2013. Kyle Long. Good pick, but he's a guard. So ultimately,
good pick.
John Bostic was second round pick.
Didn't get it done. Then Kasim Green was right after that, wasn't he?
Kasim Green in the 4th round.
Bad pick.
Jordan Mills.
Oh, they're gonna say Jordan Howard.
Jordan Mills in the 5th round. You remember your guy, Jordan Mills? Turnstile. You might remember him as that. He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. Cornelius Washington.
I remember Cornelius.
And Marquise Wilson. And then his last draft was the here we go. I got a name for you. The 2014 draft, Kyle Fuller.
Yep, good pick.
Ego Ferguson.
Yep, Will Sutton.
Talk
to me, Jackie.
Kadeem Carey.
Our boy.
Brock Vereen. You remember your boy, Brock Vereen? I do remember
Brock Vereen. Holy shit, what a name.
David Fales.
I remember David Fales, quarterback.
And Charles Leno Jr.
Good pick. Good pick for Charles Leno.
And then he got fired. Because he just ain't working.
Yeah. All right, Jackie. Last question before we get out of here.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you could pick, this is non-random. I would hope you'd pick a good player. One player that is, from our childhood through our fandom to be on this current team. This player is going to be in their prime. Who would it be?
Oh, God. Whew. All right. Oh, man. That's a great question. I mean, I want to say... Wait. You said strictly from childhood?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I was thinking of like when your fandom first started up until now is the way I meant to phrase it.
can I give you like three? Because I don't think I could pick just one.
Okay, give me three.
All right, I would obviously go Julius Peppers at the pass rush.
Yep.
Give me Forte.
Oh.
And put him at running back.
Good playmaker in the backfield.
And then I would say, I'm trying to decide between receivers. Who would I want as a receiver? Fuck it. Give me Brandon Marshall. Give me B Marsh. Give me B Marsh.
That's a good fucking compliment to DJ Moore.
Yeah, without the mental issues.
Yeah.
Not that Brandon was really. I mean, he could just kind of be a dick.
Well, I mean, he
did. I know a lot of that.
He did get diagnosed with
Yeah.
What was it? The personality disorder. Yeah. And he's been very open about that. So
I think
he would agree with you. Okay. Well, if you're picking multiple, I'm picking multiple before we get out of here. Listen. Go three.
Don't go crazy because we could literally be give me
whole roster. Give it every. No. Okay.
Defense.
Listen, I know we need a pass rush, bub. But what's more important in the Eberflus defense? I'm going Tommy Harris, 3-tech, baby. Plug his big ass in there. Oh, just promise.
Yeah, turn injuries off. Yeah, turn injuries off.
That is one I stand by, Jack. I swear, he stays healthy. I think we look at him in like the Warren Sapp mold. He was fucking good. I don't think that from a bias. I don't think that of very many Bears players. Like I know people say like, oh, Kevin White would have been, and he may have. We saw what Tommy Harris could do on a football field. I mean, that was like Aaron Donald-esque what that man was doing from the inside. Insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have him. You pick Pep, so you can have that. I'm gonna go Alex Brown to get a little bit of a pass rush.
Okay.
You know, listen, I'm just bringing my whole childhood and I'm just infusing the defense here. The injuries are off. I'm going Mike Brown, baby.
Okay, good. Because I'm gonna make a trade. I'm gonna trade.
You're trading one of your three.
I'm trading men out. Get Forte out of there.
Wow.
Right. Because running backs. Who cares?
Right.
We already have running back one.
Yep,
we have running back one playing quarterback. Give me, and I can't believe you didn't say it, and I can't believe I didn't say it. The disrespect we just showed to Peanut Tillman. Give me corner one.
Yeah, I mean, in this cover too. That's the thing. There's so many comparables. Because I know we signed Tremaine Edmonds, but who would say no to a prime Urlacher at this point? You know what I mean? I mean, he clears Tremaine Edmonds.
I could say that, but I'm gonna go Peanut.
I like
make Jalen corner 2, and then you figure it out from there. Fuck Forte. You know what? Fuck him. Forgot how much he sucked. He's terrible. Couldn't score a touchdown to save his fucking.
Wait one goddamn minute. When did this turn into the?
Give me Thomas Jones over Matt Forte any day of the week.
He was a better pure runner than Forte was. I know, honestly, with the way they ran the ball last year, he probably would be a better fit for this offense, to be honest.
Do you remember Thomas Jones on the Jets?
I do. We traded him for a 5th-round pick. We fucking.
You remember Matt Forte?
I do. He had like 2 good years with the Jets. Yeah.
Why do most of our players, I feel like, go to when they leave? They usually kind of go to the same team.
It's got to be a family continuity thing. Maybe they call each other. Hey, I know you let him go, but what do you really think? Is he a good guy for the locker room? And then McCaskey, Virginia's like, yeah, he's great.
Well, McCaskey wouldn't know shit because they don't talk to any of the former. They don't see any value in talking with their legacy players. I hope that's changed.
It has. I feel like Eberflus has made it a point. He's gone on record. I mean, Peanut is there again for the 2nd year talking to the young pups. For the rookie minicamp he was.
Can I just give one more shout out real quick to a Bears wide receiver who does not get enough love and probably never will? Moose Muhammad.
Moose?
Because here's the thing. Carolina. He had 3 1,000-yard seasons. The year before he came to Chicago.
Yep.
He had 1,400 yards.
Sure did.
16 touchdowns. And he was 31 years old.
Did we trade Wally for him? Adewale Ogunleye?
Yes. He came to Chicago, had a rough first season, only 750 yards, 4 touchdowns. You could put that on the quarterback.
Oh, no, Jackie, that was the Marty Booker trade.
At
Adewale.
You're right.
But
You're
anyway,
right. He was 33. He was 33 in his second year with the Bears.
Moose?
And he had 860 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Moose was the first wide receiver ever to catch 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl or a touchdown. How do you word it? He scored a touchdown for 2 separate teams
in a Super Bowl.
Receiving. God, why can't I format my brain is not formulating this sentence.
Nard Berrien was on that team, that 2006 team.
The deep ball from Sexy Rexy was nice.
Was that your 1-2 punch for wide receivers? God,
hey, listen, Moose was a fucking dog.
He was.
Moose.
He was my favorite player. Favorite Bears player.
He was the best Bears receiver for quite some time. In our lifetime, anyway.
The bar is very low.
Doesn't matter where the bar is, he's still the best.
Not anymore. Not anymore, because that bar, DJ Moore has taken that bar.
Alshon probably lapped him. Brandon Marshall probably lapped him.
I just didn't like either of those guys, you know? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like... It was hard to like both of them, especially Alshon. Because, like, once he started dealing with the injuries...
He got called out. Johnny Fox called him out.
Yeah. Yeah, he did, because he was acting like...
Listen here, bub.
Know, and then you
don't have soft tissues. We only have hard tissues over here.
Right, and then A-Rob started off. You were kind of like, you remember that first year off the ACL. You were like, okay, all right, they might have something here.
Very good.
Really good, and you're like, okay, all right, they have a receiver, and then the contract stuff started, and then he just kind of quit football. Like overall, it was a very strange situation.
Yep. Well, all right,
very
Jackie,
strange.
That was all I brought, and I knew we'd be able to stretch this bitch to 40 minutes.
This is a very fun conversation. I really enjoyed. I enjoy these laid back conversations. Listen, it's a warm summer day. We got smoke coming down from the Canadas.
You can't trust the Canadians.
No, you can't. But you can trust the Bear With Us podcast. Look at that fucking God. That's good. It's good shit right there. I'm Jack. He's Frank. We bring this podcast to you every Wednesday normally.
Yep.
We still got a whole off season to get through, so we got some more fun things lined up. Frankie, talk to you next week, man.
Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.